Yeah.
Let's bring you some other news this morning, because a row has broken out after MPs rejected a new law that would have forced water companies to reduce the amount of sewage released into waterways.
Currently, the waste is allowed to be discharged after heavy rain to prevent it flooding into homes. Water companies say the new law would have cost them billions to install with new infrastructure. A warning: this report from Zoe Conway contains images that might put you off your breakfast.
This is untreated sewage being released into Langstone Harbour in Hampshire. The pipe, known as an outfall, is 7 foot wide. The footage was shot last Thursday. The sewage poured out of it for 49 hours straight.
I launched my drone from about 100 metres over there, and once I was flying over the top looking at the screen, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. The general reaction from people on social media who've seen the film now, they really are astonished at quite how much of this is happening, and it's happening right along our coastline, and quite simply it needs to stop.
The sewage came from here, the Budds Farm treatment plant run by Southern Water. It's allowed to discharge what the company says is heavily diluted wastewater into the harbour during heavy rainfall. This prevents it backing up and causing flooding.
The concern is that not just the fecal matter that's coming out through that sewage treatment plant, it's full of chemicals as well. All the chemicals we use every day that are underneath our sinks, and we keep them locked away from our children because they're toxic, they come out here and they can be toxic to our wildlife as well. It could be changing their sex, affecting their immune system, causing cancer. There could be birds that are coming here to feed that are picking up these toxins, and the effects of those toxins may be then seen hundreds of thousands of miles away where they're breeding, for instance.
It's not clear yet whether this 49-hour spill will be considered to be legal or not. In July, Southern Water was hit with a £90 million fine after pleading guilty to thousands of illegal discharges. Southern Water told the BBC it's investing in infrastructure and natural projects such as enhanced wetlands to reduce water runoff. No prizes for guessing what these brown spots refer to, places where treated and untreated effluent is released into our rivers. Sewage was discharged into British waters 400,000 times last year.
Now it's at full whack, going straight into the river. Again, you've got wipes, sanitary towels.
Campaigners like Mark Barrow are speaking out, using social media to highlight what's happening in rivers in Wetherby, West Yorkshire. His videos are watched by thousands of people. The government says the amount of sewage in our rivers is unacceptable, and the government has a bill in Parliament to address the problem, which they say will deliver progressive reductions in the harm caused by storm overflows. The trouble is, 22 Conservative MPs say it doesn't go far enough. They want the government to back this amendment. It puts a legal duty on water companies to take all reasonable steps to ensure untreated sewage is not discharged.
We cannot have sewage being discharged into our seas being unclean, unhealthy to swim in as a result, and people's lives being blighted because whenever they worry about heavy rainfall, they worry about sewage coming into their households. I want to work with the government to fix this problem, but ultimately for my constituents, I have to live with this because we're a coastal constituency. I have to put them before what the government may be telling me I should do.
For the last few days, anger has been mounting at the government's position. They've been protesting on the streets in Margate in Kent, and they've taken to the beaches in nearby Whitstable. What everyone agrees on is that Britain's Victorian water system needs rescuing, but it will cost billions and billions to do so. Zoe Conway, BBC News.
We are joined now by Hugo Tagholm, Chief Executive of Surfers Against Sewage. Morning to you, Hugo. Great to see you this morning. Just tell me, what was your reaction when MPs rejected placing legal duties on water companies to reduce sewage going into our waters?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having us on. Look, we were really disappointed that MPs failed to back this common sense amendment to put the legal duty on water companies to invest in the right infrastructure to stop raw sewage pollution pouring into our rivers and into our ocean. It's gone beyond the joke now. As your reporter said, last year alone, water companies were responsible for over 400,000 separate sewage pollution events. That totaled 3.1 million hours of sewage pumped into our rivers and into our ocean. And that's not just good enough. We need action.
So the preliminary cost required to make the infrastructure changes is estimated to be somewhere between 150 billion and 650 billion pounds to make the changes that would need to happen in order to protect the waterways. Now, that money would have to come from somewhere. It would have to come from taxpayers or from the water companies themselves, and they would then just go out of business, and that wouldn't even get the work done, would it?
Well, look, this is a really interesting point. We've consistently asked MPs over the last period of time where these numbers came from. We've seen no breakdown of those calculations. We believe some calculations are actually alarmist and to put people off actually action being taken. The amendment that's being called for is very reasonable. It's asking for a legal duty for water companies to take the reasonable steps to ensure that untreated sewage is not discharged into our rivers and our coastline. If you actually look at what's happening out there, only 14% of our rivers meet good ecological status. Currently, the UK ranks bottom of the bathing water table compared to our European neighbours. And this is all thanks to the water company and agriculture polluting these precious blue spaces. And we believe that they need to find the funds. They need to cut into their dividends, the huge profits they're making every year, to invest in a cleaner, bluer future for us all, to restore our rivers and to restore our coastline.
You're talking about the precious blue spaces that you're trying to protect, but actually the sewage is discharged in order to protect people's precious homes, because that's the alternative, isn't it? That the sewage would be discharged and potentially flood homes.
Well, this is now thanks to, of course, the lack of investment that the water industry has put into the infrastructure over the last 30 years since privatisation. They now need to do much more. They haven't got the right to destroy these spaces. They cannot scare the public by saying it's one or the other. They need to make sure they take the bold, ambitious steps to restore our blue spaces, make sure that we have those for communities around the country. We want to see rivers thriving again for people and for wildlife, and make sure that the industry isn't putting their profits ahead of protecting the planet that we all share.
Hugo Tagholm, Chief Executive of Surfers Against Sewage, thank you.